Hello, WellPod listeners. Program note. Today's episode includes strong language, talk of drug use, and a lot of strange noises. These are all made by today's guest, and they are all intentional.
Compiled from truly inferior tapes of stupid self-involvement, now on display for your dismissal or gradual acceptance. Losers. One solid circle of Sebadoh's Sentridoh.
The more sophisticated of the Israeli cities.
Losers. One solid circle of Sebadoh's Sentridoh. Losers. Make its downstroke stroke you down. Make you achieve down mind.
Welcome to The Well. I am Branan Edgens.
And I am Anson Mount.
And today's guest is Lou Barlow. Who is Lou Barlow to you?
Lou Barlow is someone you made me aware of at one point.
Mm-hmm. Which incarnation of Lou Barlow?
It was the solo Lou Barlow, self-produced Lou Barlow, Loobiecore Lou Barlow that I first remember. And then I went back and I'd heard about... No, that's not true. I had a folk Implosion album when I was in college. I always had an admiration for your admiration of Lou Barlow. So it was kind of it was a obvious choice for a guest when you graciously agreed to join me on this podcast adventure.
I first discovered Lou Barlow the way most people probably did, through his work as the bass player for Dinosaur Jr., of whom I was a huge fan. So, going back, it's 1992, and I'm doing some off-road driving in my truck, looking for the entrance to a cave because I wanted to go spelunking by myself, which was, looking back on it, probably not a great idea. And I'm listening to Dinosaur Jr.'s second album, You're Living All Over Me, and it starts to rain so hard that my wipers can't clear the view, so I stop my truck out in the middle of the woods, and then the last song on the album plays. And it sounds like nothing else on the album. It was a total surprise. And then it gets to this part where it gets so distorted, I actually pull the tape out of the cassette player to make sure my tape player is not eating the tape. It's not. So I put it back in and just marvel at this apocalyptic sound that marries perfectly with the apocalyptic weather. And in that moment, I became an instant Lou Barlow fan. And I wanted to hear more. And lucky for me, there was more. A lot more. I've been listening to Lou Barlow's music for over 25 years now, so it was a huge thrill for me to sit down across the table from him in his hotel in Brooklyn before his show and chat. And now, I am very excited to share with you Part 1, a partial history of Lou Barlow. It's the early 80s in Massachusetts, and a young Lou Barlow has a summer job at a nursing home, making enough money to buy some primitive recording equipment and weed.
What a great start.
Pot early on, I think, was incredible, you know. It actually really made me so much more confident as a songwriter and writing. I mean, actually what I would do was initially early on is like I would sit and I'd write songs on my 4-track and record them, and then I would just get absolutely baked and listen back to what I had done, and it was so entertaining, you know. It was just like this, it was like it became kind of like the next level of masturbation, you know. It was so gratifying, and I loved it so much. And you know, it's where I became my audience. I became my own audience with the introduction of weed into my life. I became really entertained by myself and the music that I could make. And so it really kind of triggered this real momentum in my creative life, for sure.
Feeling down, you're feeling shitty. Put your hands down and pet your kitty. It'll be neat, it'll be cool. Bet you can't take another boarding school. When you feel like you just swallowed a guppy, just bend down and pet your puppy. It'll be neat, it'll be cool. Bet you can't take another boarding school.
Go back to the next level of masturbation, which, thanks for the tip. I hadn't thought about that one yet. I've been looking for the next level.
Yeah, don't wrap that rope around your neck and hang yourself from your door. No, don't go that route.
We got the 4-track.
Just break out the 4-track. Drop the auto asphyxia. Yeah.
He died from 4-tracking. 4-tracked himself to death.
You know, one thing that really got me into punk rock was the total disregard for musicianship and what came before. You know, that idea of like clearing the. But at the same time, I mean, I like that idea because I think that was it was a really good time for that idea, like in the early 1980s. You know, rock music anyway had become very intricate, really, and I just really thought that was very off-putting to me. So making it simple and that empowered me, you know, so.
I love those noisy, weird home recordings. It was just Lou by himself, making himself happy. I don't hear a lot of that in most music. I hear a lot of people trying to prove themselves worthy of our adoration through technical feats or gymnastics singing stunts, you know, who has the most range, the most powerful voice, etc. Lou wasn't a performer. Or a show-off in that sense.
No, it reminds me a lot of Daniel Johnston.
Yeah. Someone just doing it because they love doing it.
Yeah.
Just doing it because it's fun. And God, why do I not hear much of that anymore? But he has so much creative energy, and he can't do it all by himself, so he starts a band, which was weird because he never saw himself as a performer.
I was very interested in being invisible, you know, so I was like wearing, you know, my grandfather's cardigans, and you know, I was dressing like that. I was sort of pre-grunge, you know, like 81, 82. I wore oversized sweaters and jeans and Converse and was just shrinking into myself, you know. I didn't want to in any way call attention to myself. And like, so for me, going to school with a buzz cut with chunks cut out of it would have been suicide or just an invitation to a lot of grief, you know.
If he wanted to be part of the hardcore music scene, he was going to have to start a band. So he put out an ad for, quote, drummer wanted to play really fast. And the person who answered that ad, an equally young but much more confident Jay Mascis.
He showed up at my parents' house. You know, his dad drove him down. I think we got together before we had driver's licenses. He dressed really well. That's all. I mean,
Really?
He dressed. I mean, I'm just saying he dressed. Yes, he dressed the part. You know, jeans rolled up, a big pair of Doc Martens, maybe some suspenders, a really fucking amazing punk rock shirt, you know, like a Discharge t-shirt back when nobody had Discharge t-shirts, and this fucked up haircut, you know, and was just like, you're like, whoa. I mean, you're like, this is what people dress like in LA and New York, you know, this is like, he was like a big city punk, you know, like really like living it, wearing it, you know, and okay. And then he sat down to the drum kit and could play like a million miles an hour and was prodigiously talented, you know.
And going someplace.
Going someplace, like really like ambitious and energetic, but then at the same time the most laconic just like his actual personality. Like when he actually spoke, it was like he had all of this momentum from his look, his creative ambitions, and then when he opened his mouth, it was like time stood still. And it was like, it was such a hard thing for me to negotiate as a a 15-year-old.
Oh, you're 15?
Yeah.
The band they formed in high school was a hardcore punk band called Deep Wound. It was loud and angry and super hardcore.
Pressure! Things are all coming at me. They're not even real.
Deep Wound.
It's such a high school punk rock name. Like, what's the most aggressive thing we can come up with? Wound? No, deeper. Deep Wound. But eventually Jay and Lou found the dogma of being punk too restrictive and started a new band together called Dinosaur, later Dinosaur Jr.
I mean, that was kind of the cool thing also, with Jay, is that we were totally on the same page as far as, all right, done with that. That's stupid. Let's listen to the Dream Syndicate now. Let's listen to...
How dare you?
Let's listen to REM. Let's listen to, let's embrace other stuff.
With Jay on guitar and Lou on bass. And for those of you who don't know, Dinosaur Jr. became a seminal band that helped spawn the grunge scene in the later 80s, and Jay became a guitar hero currently ranked number 86 on Rolling Stone's list of greatest guitar players ever. They were making great music together, but personality conflicts combined with the fact that they were young men with very poor communication skills led to Lou being unceremoniously kicked out of the band that he loved.
It was kind of a heartbreaking situation, for me. I was really in love with the music and kind of in love with Jay and Murph, in a way, it was tortured. It wasn't a great relationship, but it was definitely, important, informative for me.
Lou now had a lot of pent-up creative energy and no outlet. So he partnered up with an old friend from Massachusetts hardcore scene.
Eric Gaffney, a really charismatic guy. This guy loved performing. He had so much of this really aggressive charisma. I met him in the punk scene, where we would have these, you'd have your hall shows where you play the VFW or the Grange Hall. He was a fan of Deep Wound, Jay and I's band. And then he had his own band called Gray Matter that were pretty cool, and he was the drummer. He was just funny, and he really had this sort of unabashed love for the Beatles, which was kind of cool. And we loved this sort of extreme music, but he was also very, open-minded at a time that when people weren't, people that hardcore mindset was very narrow-minded, let's say, and I like hardcore, that's it, but Eric, it was very apparent just immediately when talking to him that he was very open-minded and that he loved all kinds of music, and he had a real thing for the 60s, because his parents were hippies, and he has a childhood story that Tim Buckley patted him on the head and or something, and living in that area in Western Mass, it was where a lot of hippies kind of ended up, and so Eric had a real sort of this affection / anger towards hippies and the alternative lifestyle. he and I just started talking, and then we also kind of had this kind of funny infatuation with like religion as well, you know, like Christianity, and we talked a lot, and we even went to like Bible readings together and stuff, and we were really into acid, so it's like we were into our weed and our acid and religion and.
They formed Sebadoh, a nonsense word. Lou likes making up words. If Dinosaur Jr. was the godfather of grunge, then Sebadoh is the godfather of indie lo-fi. And for a while, Eric and Lou produced some intimate and strange music, full of tape cut-ups and purposefully overloaded microphone sounds.
Ride the dark away. Love tomorrow today.
Lou and Eric were not just embracing all these limitations, they were being inspired by them. And when I discovered it, I was just so happy to hear someone experimenting. Not using the excuse that they don't have the right equipment or technique to make music. It was just loaded with surprises and juxtaposing ideas, like the noise you're hearing right now. But then Lou would betray all of this with his incredible talent as a lyricist in a song like this, Brand New Love.
Any thought could be the beginning of a brand new tangled web you're spinning. Anyone could be your brand new love. Any tie that holds can be broken. Tear your bitter world to the open. Anyone could be your brand new love.
But then, just to keep you on your toes, he ends that beautiful song with some sort of tape cut-up, mocking his old bandmate, Jay Mascis.
What was that, Jay Mascis?
Yeah, that was recorded.
So he took old tapes of Jay Mascis and he stuck it on the end of his track?
Yeah, a lot of the songs on those first Sebadoh records was just Lou working out his anger, how mad he was at Jay for kicking him out of Dinosaur. I mean, this, the first track is The Freed Pig. It's about Jay Mascis.
Right, I was obsessed to bring you down, watching your every move, playing a little boy game, always with something to prove, waiting to cut you down, making it hard to live.
This version of the song was recorded once Sebadoh added a third member, Jason Lowenstein. And they did very well as a trio. But then, eventually, some of the old fun habits from Lou and Eric's adolescence became a problem.
We spent time either, jamming or looking for weed, and that's what we did. And it's what brought us together. It's what tore us apart, It's like...
Oh, really?
Well, acid did. I think.
Okay.
Acid, we had a couple of really intense acid trips together that really fucked everything up. I mean, there's two people in my life definitely that I've seen acid like really, really fuck them up, like really put the crack in their psyche. It's pretty bad. It introduces you to the void, which is not great when you're a male in your early, or actually for anybody, but actually I'll just say male, because when you're in that period where those are the periods when things like schizophrenia can actually really take hold and really mess with people and real mental issues. And I think I've seen it with, Eric was a little, it was a little rough. Eric was also very, like Jay, very possessive. Jason, he's 5 years younger than me, so we had kind of an older brother thing with him. I hope to play with Jason forever in some capacity, you know. Eric had brought us together. So when Eric left, it was Jason and I. And actually, I mean, we had the most successful run of Sebadoh after Eric left, just because we were pretty much on the same page as far as like how much we were going to tour. I couldn't really take the experimental aspects of what I did or what I loved, you know, with tapes and cut up stuff, and that to translate that to a live thing was impossible, because it's literally, you know, we had great shows and then awful shows, and I wanted to make something that was a little more reliable, so I actually streamlined my songwriting quite a bit, and you know, and then when Eric left, that was pretty much what took over. It's just, we're going to go and play songs. We're going to play our songs, and it's going to be, you know, no bullshit, no, like, not to say that the experimental side is bullshit, because it's not, but it's incredibly stressful when you're trying to play, you're doing a 30-date tour, you're 29 shows in 30 days, and you're in a minivan, and you're getting far too high every day, and you're hungover, whatever. So it's like you had to, like, it was like out of necessity, I felt I needed to streamline it.
During this period, Lou is working hard on the road with Jason and the new drummer, Bob Fay, and they made much more radio-friendly 3-minute songs and released a few more well-regarded albums, and then decided to go on a hiatus to pursue other ideas. And Lou started another band called the Folk Implosion with John Davis, with whom he produces his biggest hit to date, Natural One. It's a very different sound. You know the song.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big hit for them, and a very, very different sound for Lou, and also a very different kind of creative collaboration.
I hate to say it, but it wasn't like masculine. We were two guys that obviously had very strong female figures in our life, and whose, you know, our sisters and our mothers were the people that kind of shaped us, probably, you know, I mean, John's family were actually academics, and he was really smart too. You know, I'm not college educated. I'm kind of a pseudo intellectual. He was a real intellectual. He still is. So, and I kind of that was kind of a rush being near.
Catching butterflies, line drives, watching TV. Had 7 good years till I noticed they were looking at me. I didn't like what they'd see.
John and I had a very open, communicative, really collaborative, down to just minute detail. It was very personal. It felt like what I imagined, like really successful, you know, Rodgers and Hammerstein, these people that would really get together. Like, one would sit down at the piano, like, "What are you thinking of today, Roger?" And like, and the songs would come together out of these conversations that they had. I really kind of I have this very idealized vision of what occurs with like really amazing songwriting teams, and I just felt that kind of synergy with John and the stuff that we made together in the short years. And I think we were collaborating for maybe 4 or 5 years, but that was pretty incredible.
If you've been paying attention, I think you know what's about to happen. Lou was getting divorced, doing a lot of drugs, out of control, and John needed a lot more control. But they soldiered through and made a beautiful third record together, One Part Lullaby. Sounds gorgeous, and it did really well. And the day it came out, John quit the band.
When that ended, I entered probably the most difficult. That coincided with moving to Los Angeles and a lot of other upheavals in my life, and I was pretty lost for a long time after that, until I made my solo record in 2005.
And that's around the time that you got to know him.
Is that Loobiecore he's talking about?
Emo.
Oh yeah. That's a well-recorded, solid album.
Yeah, and you can, and knowing what he was going through at the time, he was getting divorced from his childhood sweetheart of 25 years.
Yeah. And even the title of the album is Home Backwards.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. He moved. He went out to LA because she wanted to go to LA. He didn't really even want to go there. He went out there, everything went south, and then he had to move back to Massachusetts. He was in for a period of introspection on his life and his career.
Hit me like a kick to a thickening gut. The beat has gone beating me up. No one's gonna lift me out of this rut. The groove is gone, ground me to dust. I'm knocking on the wrong cocoon. Spun another web of lies. And then you break through and dry before my eyes. Take me with you where you hide tonight.
It was 2005. Emo was Lou Barlow by himself, taking everything he's learned and now painting on a much bigger canvas. And I love this record. I don't want to sound like a shill, but just do yourself a favor and go buy it. In March 2007, the Sebadoh classic lineup of Barlow, Gaffney, yes, they patched things up, and Lowenstein reunited and went on tour together for the first time in 14 years. And while on tour, an old friend started showing up at the shows. Jay was thinking about getting the old Dinosaur Jr. back together, despite all the mean things Lou used to say about him. But age changes people.
With respect to Jay, it's like he definitely is open to change. In a way, coming back into his orbit, it could have been very risky for me to do that because he was such a powerful figure in my life. But in a lot of ways, it's really it's been probably one of the most life-affirming things that I've done.
After 16 years, the original Dinosaur Jr. lineup of Lou, Jay, and Murph are back together and touring regularly. This is my recording of them at the Brooklyn Bowl, the night of the interview. They have since released 4 more studio albums, and they sound as fierce as ever. And while time has turned Jay into the spitting image of Gandalf the Grey, Lou looks young. He's got a full head of lustrous, dark, curly hair and looks to me like a blue-eyed Cocker Spaniel. He's remarried, got 3 kids, and just released another solo album, Apocalypse Fetish. We'll get into his reflections on his career, his many incarnations, and what drives him as a songwriter in part 2 next week on The Well. The Well is produced and edited by Anson Mount and myself, Branan Edgens. Theme music by Jonathan Myberg. For more on all the music in this episode, please visit our website, thewellpod.com. Again, that's thewellpod.com. Special thanks to Lou Barlow for sitting down with me and telling these stories for what must be the 1,000,000th time for him. Please leave us a review on iTunes. And while you're there, pick up some Lou Barlow records. Do it. You'll thank me. And have a great week.
You got it.